they said, no, we want more surgeries. We want more procedures. We want to make more money. And I said, you guys are out of your mind. You make enough money.
You're listening to the Begin Within Health Show with Nate Slager. For more, go to beginwithin.fit/podcast, or to enroll right now in our flagship coaching program, go to beginwithin.fit/coaching. Welcome back to the Begin Within Health Show. You hear a lot about what you should be keeping track of when it comes to your health. And yet, when you go to the doctor, the simple fact is this: they might not be paying any attention to the things that you have heard or read in your own research are the things that matter most. So what should you do? How can you navigate this and even navigate it with the assistance of your health insurance? Good question, right? We're going to talk about that today. And my guest today is Dr. Victoria Mondloch. She's a wellness MD with over 35 years of experience. She helps people to navigate this process because she was part of that process as an MD. Now she helps women and men go from not feeling good to feeling 15 to 20 years younger than their chronological age. She helps her patients to achieve and manage optimal health and to regain energy and hormonal balance, things that have been taken from them for years. She helps them regain their vitality. Dr. Victoria Mondloch is with us today to help us to navigate the very murky waters of how to get our doctors to do what we want them to do. And it's a very difficult situation to navigate because simply, in many cases, they know more than we do. And yet we may have some answers as a result of our own experience, as a result of the things that we have discovered in our own research about our own symptoms or about conditions that we've been diagnosed with already. So how do we navigate this? She is going to help us. And there's three things that I want you to listen for in our conversation together. First of all, the importance of hormone balance. She's going to help us with that. And she's going to talk about 4 specific hormones that she tests for and tracks and strongly believes are the absolute keys to our vitality. So listen for any conversation we have in this interview about hormones. It's going to be very, very important for you. Secondly, I want you to listen for how we can take control of our health information. Okay? Listen for that. And then finally, the overall idea, the overarching theme is to take control of our own health, be our own advocates when it comes to health care. We're going to talk about how we are customers and doctors are employees of a much bigger system. That's something that you are going to be probably impressed by, because I was, as I talked to Dr. Mondloch. And something really cool is that she lives not too far from me, which we didn't know until we jumped on the Zoom call to do the podcast interview. So that was kind of cool. So we caught up a little bit, talked a little Wisconsin, a little bit northwoods of Wisconsin, because she's familiar with the area that I'm from. All right, enough. Let's get on to the interview. Here's my interview with Dr. Victoria Mondloch.
There are those that feel that insurance and traditional medicine is imploding. There are those that feel that despite its unusual pathway that medicine has taken, that there are still ways to salvage good health out of the current healthcare system. And that's the pathway that I take. And, it is medicine today is very different than it was 30 years ago when 35 years ago when I started my practice. Um, it was insurance was king back then, and now insurance is a necessary evil, but most people feel their insurance is failing them and that it is covering less of what they need and they're paying more out of pocket for what they actually are trying to just do to survive and thrive. So the difference, what has happened in that 35 years is pretty much what I experienced in my practice. So I went from a group practice to individual practice because I had very specific preventive medicine needs than my partners did. And I couldn't work with them anymore. I was the president of an 8 physician group and I walked because I wanted preventive and a preventive approach to medicine. And they said, no, we want more surgeries. We want more procedures. We want to make more money. And I said, you guys are out of your mind. You make enough money. People don't walk in every day and say, wow, I hope my doctor offers me surgery today. Yay. No, they want to stay out of our office. They want us to keep them healthy. Well, that doesn't make us money. I said, the point is we're supposed to do no harm. You guys make enough money. We deliver babies. We do things that keep our monetary going. We have a regular paycheck. People don't want to be in our office all the time. Well, no, you guys don't get it. So I literally walked. I quit my job and I went solo. So,
Oh, wow. Wow.
yeah,
And how far along in your career was that?
that was 16 years into my 35-year career. So I was pretty established by
Yeah.
that point. And I literally walked away. I took a vote around the table, and it was 7 against 1 for a preventive medicine program that I wanted, that I had already brought into the office, and they were sabotaging it and deliberately trying to make it look bad on paper, that it was a failing project. So when I took a vote around the table, it was 7 against 1 against the project. And I took a piece of paper and I wrote, I quit, and I put it in the middle of the table and I walked out.
Wow. It's like a really, I mean, I would imagine if I were in the room, there would be some tension there. Um,
Oh, there was tension. Yeah. So I get
mhm.
home and, I'm home early. And my husband looks at me and he goes, you're home early? Why? I said, well, I quit my job. He's like, you what?
Oh, wow.
Right. 3 kids, 2 in private high school. And he goes, you quit your job. I'll figure it out. Oh,
Wow. That's a huge change from having a job in the morning. I mean, obviously others go through it, but they don't maybe uh do it on their own quite to that extent. Wow. So, okay, I'm hooked now in the story. So tell me what happened next.
well, I took 6 months off to figure out what I really wanted to do. And I got a phone call from another female OBGYN. And she said, hey, girlfriend, I need a hand. She said, literally, I need a hand. She said, I broke my wrist and it's my pelvic, hand. I can't do a pelvic exam because my hand is in a cast. So can you come up here and give me a hand? Work with me for X amount of until I get my hand out of a cast and I get back on my feet. Sure, I can do that. So I literally went up there to temporarily help her out, stayed for 3.5 years, kind of rebuilt a whole practice based on the premise of what I had been prior doing in my other practice and saw it work and thought, okay, all right, this is working. So now I can go back to my hometown because I was up in Cedarburg. I went back to Waukesha and basically set up shop and rebuilt a whole new practice from scratch as a solo practitioner and never looked back. Oh,
I know that's not the end of the
oh,
story.
oh no, that's not the end.
That's like the new beginning, right?
Right. So, so then, taking the insurance part next.
Yeah.
The so back in the 80s when I started practice, I literally was working through a time when insurance was king. If you had a
Yeah.
$10 or $20 copay, people complained bitterly that it was too much money they were paying out of pocket. Oh my goodness gracious. Your scripts were all covered and everything literally was covered. And by the time I left the first practice, that I quit the first practice, took 6 months off, started the next practice, insurance was still important, but they were paying less and they were paying less. Well, by the time 2012 rolled around, so now I'm in practice back in Waukesha, solo practice. I'm no longer doing obstetrics. I'm just doing in-office women's health. The private or the individual doctors that were running a private practice like me were no longer attractive to large insurance companies. So large insurance companies like Humana and United Healthcare and Blue Cross Blue Shield, they all looked at us individual docs as you're too much work for us to make a contract with. So guess what? We're just not going to write contracts with individual solo docs anymore. Too bad, so sad. Yes, you were a great doc for us for the past 20 years, but gee, we're just not going to write you a contract anymore. So good luck. Bye. You know, and so after 26 years in practice, I was suddenly faced with, I'm out of business. I don't have insurance companies that are going to write for me to have a contract with them, even though I've done absolutely nothing wrong. So I went to my patients and I said, well, guys, good news, bad news. Good news is it's a nice sunny day outside. I'm still in practice. Bad news is your insurance carrier isn't writing contracts for individual docs anymore. So I no longer, it's not a question of I don't take your insurance. Your insurance won't take me for no fault of my own, right? So they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I think I have to go cash only. And I expected 80% of my patients to go, oh, well, then see you, doc.
Yeah.
And that same 80% went, huh, well, how much you going to charge? And I went, I don't know. This is so new. I haven't even thought about it. So literally, I came up with what price that was going to look like. And that same 80% that I thought were going to go no said, yeah, I'll pay that. No problem. So I literally had my patients save me. And that worked until about, oh, maybe 8 years later, when the idea of concierge medicine came into play. And what was happening is that I keep my patients, or I kept my patients so healthy, literally optimal health, that they only needed to come in twice a year. Well, when you're on a cash only basis, that's really hard to pay regular bills when you have irregular customer visits, if you follow
Sure.
my drift. So
Sure.
it became increasingly difficult to have the style of practice that I wanted to have because you could never count on what money you were making that month based upon who. And patients would routinely feel so good, which is a testament to how well you were taking care of them, that they would call and cancel their appointment. Well, I really don't need to come in. I've got other stuff going on, so I'll see you in another 6 months.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So when you have nothing else to support you as a safety net, you're kind of hurting. So I went to a concierge model and again expected that a percentage of my patients would say, too bad, so sad, I can't do that. And I kept the concierge price to a point where it really was a little bit more than what it was for cash only, but it was still something that most people were used to paying. And so they literally, when faced with that decision, that's again about 80% went, okay, I can do that, which now gave me a regular income, which now most people think, oh, docs get a regular paycheck. Well, no, not always. So, so that's when I went concierge. And and then I get to age 67 and my husband had already retired. And so I intended to work further and longer. By that point, I had brought in concierge, not just the concierge, but I had brought in regenerative medicine, energy medicine, complementary alternative medicine. I had already been working in the cosmetic med spa field as a medical director for 10 years. And so I just did a lot of everything. And I could literally full service my patients in my office for almost everything, including I could get rid of dental abscesses so people could avert their root canals. So that's what energy medicine could do. And I could prevent them needing a knee replacement by injecting stem cell proteins and placental amniotic fluid products into joints to prevent them from needing a surgical knee replacement or hip replacement, So I literally was doing so many things that kept people out of the healthcare system that I had a following of whole families that were coming in. So I was taking care of the patient, their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, their siblings, their kids. It was just this whole family affair because literally we could do that and they felt safe and they felt comfortable and they felt that they were in the best health of their life. And they would tell me, I feel more energy now than I did when I first met you. And I'm 10 years older. How can that be? Well, you're in better health. Oh my gosh. So, so it's not difficult to do optimal health. It's that many systems that are in charge of physicians and healthcare providers need it to be profitable. And profitability has taken precedence over healthcare. And that's where the dark side of medicine is showing its face. And the profitability has taken over from the sustainability of a person's health. We no longer, as we mature, expect to make it to age 90. When you talk to people that are 70 these days, they go, oh my gosh, I'm in as good a health as you'd expect a 71-year-old to be. And my answer is, wait a minute. I'm 69 and I go hiking whenever I want. I go scuba diving. I go snow skiing. I go sailing. I do what I want. And I take no medication. So what do you mean you're as healthy as a 71-year-old should be? I don't accept that. You should, your age should be 71, but you should feel 51, even 41. So what's wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing. It's simply knowing how you can use the system to your advantage, not let the system put hooks into you and start pulling you to all these different specialties and almost pulling you apart, so to speak, almost having you lose your medical soul, so to speak. We don't need most of the specialists that are out there. We need some of them, yes, but the point is medicine is about perpetuating its own self. And so when you talk to many people over the age of 65, it's not, do you have a doctor? It's how many doctors do you have? Oh,
Yeah.
I've got the orthopedist, I've got the nerve, the pain specialist, I've got the rheumatologist, I've got the endocrinologist, I've got it's like, no, no, wait a minute. No, we shouldn't need to go there.
I like the way that you explain that. It makes a ton of sense. And I think that some of that breaking everything apart, the confusion that results is obvious. And but I haven't seen it through the the light that you shed on it there of how that serves the system, not the individual. So I'm curious to know, how is it that we can, is it possible, maybe that's a better question, to have the best of both worlds
It
as
is.
we move forward, and how is that?
It is. And the best part of moving forward is first understanding where it's at. So if you know that you have a healthcare provider or a doctor who works for a system or works for an insurance company, then realize they're an employee. They are not the decision maker. So they have quotas that they have to meet of how many people they have to send for procedures, how many people they have to send for MRIs, how many people they have to send on to a specialist. And if they don't meet those quotas in a month, they're warned. If they don't meet them the second month, they may actually get a dock and pay. They don't meet them a third month, they may get a dock and vacation. They don't meet them a fourth month, they may get fired. Whoa. So a doctor is incentivized to make those referrals, or he's going to get reprimanded by his boss. And most people think the doc is the boss. No, he's not. No, he's not. And in this country, back in 1990, most physicians were independent practices. They worked for themselves. So they made their own decisions. Starting in the 90s, hospitals and insurance companies went to doctors and said, hey, why don't we manage your back office for you so that we'll take all of that silly accounting and paperwork away from you and you can just focus on being doctors. And of course, what did doctors do? Oh, wow, that's a great deal. So they signed the contract without ever reading it. And after they signed it and the hospitals start putting restrictions on how they practice, they went, whoa, 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 wait a minute. This isn't me practicing medicine the way I want to. Oh, well, go to page 15. You see subset B, C, D down here where it says we own your butt? That's what that means. We own your butt and you're going to do things our way. Well, I want out of the contract. Oh, sorry. You can't break this contract. You'll have to go to court. And if you decide that you're going to leave the system, oh, by the way, we have this clause of you can't work within 25-mile radius of any facility in our organization. Well, whoa, you take a large system that's a national system, like the Covenant system, which is, the St. Mary's, the St. Luke's, or not St. Luke's, the St. Joe's in Milwaukee. You take the Wheaton Franciscan, you take all of those, they're in 34 states in the United States. So if you leave, then where are you going to practice? Wow. So that basically was this wedge um, held over your head that said, try and leave. I
Yeah.
dare you, you know. So now doctors did that to themselves, but they did it out of naivety that doesn't give them, anything but an excuse. But the point is at this point in time now, 2024, 77% of physicians are employed. 77%. Wow, that means less than a quarter of docs were like me, independent,
Yeah.
and could make our own decisions. So how then can you still, as a patient, navigate through who your doctor is and how you can best work with your doctor? Well, what I did was I premised optimal health on the very basic premise that your health is actually the foundational 4 hormone groups. Think of 4 legs of a chair. So you sit in a chair and you want that chair to be strong. You want it to be stable. You want each leg to be the same length so it doesn't tip when you sit on it. And you want to feel confident when you sit on that chair that it's it's a safe chair, right? Well, think of those four legs of your chair as the four hormonal groups in your body that give your body that same health stability. And if those four hormone groups are not only solid, but they are also balanced, then you're sitting on a solid health chair. Make sense? Okay. So the basic question is, well, then what are the four hormone groups? Great question, right? Are they labs that your regular doctor will regularly order in your annual blood work? You answer this question as I tell you the four hormone groups. Okay. Number one is your sex hormones. So for guys, it's your total and free testosterone. For women, add estradiol and progesterone. So women have four sex hormones to be checked. Men have two. Okay. So that's the first leg of your chair. Second leg of your chair is your thyroid. Thyroid is what controls your body's metabolism, a tiny little gland in your neck that your pituitary talks to and says, go to work. And your thyroid supports itself and has to support energy to every part of your body. And sometimes your body's immune system will attack. So there are 5 tests that go along with your thyroid, but that metabolism control is your second leg of your chair. Okay. So I'm going to stop right there halfway and ask you this very important question. Does your annual lab work include your testosterone?
As soon as you said 5 tests for the thyroid, I was like, no way is that getting done. Right.
Right. But what about the
Yeah.
testosterone?
No, I don't think my doctor checks it. But they'll just ask how's your energy level or whatever. But yeah, it's not
Where's the science in that?
right.
You
Yeah.
know, I can ask you any question, you can give me any answer. Is that
Yeah.
science-based?
Yeah.
Do you
I
expect that out of science and medicine?
right. Yeah.
Right? Okay, and you're
Right.
right. Thyroid. What do they check on your annual labs? The TSH only. Your
Okay.
pituitary talking to your thyroid. Okay. The thyroid, if it's a conversation, answers back. But all they check is the TSH. Maybe a reflex T4, maybe. But that's only if the TSH isn't quite where they want it. Okay. The rest of those other 3 tests, not even touched. Okay. So right there, that's kind of a failing grade. They missed this one completely and then only got part of this one. Okay. The last 2 chairs of the legs of the chair, okay, is your AM cortisol. Your cortisol is your stress hormone. Well, who's got stress, right? Everybody has stress of some kind, physical stress, emotional stress, financial stress. Stress is everywhere, right? But how do we handle that stress? So when was the last time you ever had a cortisol level checked? Hmm. Hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Fourth
Not that
leg
I
of
know
your,
of.
right. Fourth leg of your chair. Insulin. Notice I didn't say blood sugar.
Sugar check. Yep.
Insulin. Now, we hear about insulin as a treatment for abnormal blood sugar, but yet medicine focuses on blood sugar. Well, blood sugar has so many factors that influence it, right? And you say, well, they tell us to do it fasting. But do they tell you don't fast more than 12 hours? No, they don't. And they don't check the hormone insulin. So let me give you an example. If you would get a blood sugar tested and it would come back with high being less than 99, what if your blood sugar came back 106? You would think, oh my gosh, my blood sugar is high. what would your doctor say to you? Oh, that blood sugar is a little high. I think you're pre-diabetic. We're going to send you to a dietitian and we're going to start checking sugar levels on you. Here's a meter. Here's, you're going to prick your finger X number of times. I need to see you back. Well, what if your insulin level was optimal, but your blood sugar was high? What would that mean? That might mean that you actually waited more than 12 hours before you got your blood tested. And what happens if you wait more than 12 hours is your body needs sugar to run. So you're going to break down the easiest thing to break down to dump sugar in your bloodstream so you can use it, which is muscle.
I knew you were going to say that. Ooh,
Right?
hurts to
You go
hear.
to the gym every day to build muscle. You don't want
Right.
to break it down just because you waited more than 12 hours to eat your next meal or to get your blood sugar tested. So your insulin would tell you that. If your insulin is normal, it would say, this is an anomaly. You waited too long. Instead, medicine makes a jump, rash decision to say your blood sugar is too high. We're setting you on a course of calling you pre-diabetic. Why? Because they can put you in the system now. And now they're going to make money on you because now you've been branded pre-diabetic. And now you're going to feel badly, even though you're healthy, because you've just been branded. Somebody tells you over and over again you're pre-diabetic, you're going to start to believe it. But what if somebody says, no, let's check your insulin, and your insulin comes back really, really good, but that blood sugar is a little high? The message instead is going to be, don't wait more than 12 hours. So maybe intermittent fasting is not a good idea for you on a regular basis. Once in a while, okay, but regular intermittent fasting, not a good idea for you. Tell me how you're eating. What are the times of day that you eat? Isn't that a much different conversation than I'm sending you to a dietitian, ka-ching, and I'm going to, get you this meter, ka-ching, and I'm going to, now all of a sudden you've just been labeled and downgraded and your health suddenly feels worse and now you feel less energetic. And you know what? You follow what I'm trying to say? So, so those four hormone groups are the essentials. Now you have to balance them. Whoa. Well, guess what? All four of those blood tests that I just mentioned, those four hormone groups, they're covered by your insurance. What? You can get that blood work done and it's paid for and covered by your insurance? Yes, there are ICD-10 codes that cover that blood work being done. So you think, I'm just going to go to my doctor and say, I want that blood work done. And you know what they're going to say? I'm sorry, we're not allowed to do that blood work. What? My boss won't let me. Amazing, right?
I feel lost now, though. So what do I do?
Well, you first of all realize that you're the customer.
Right.
And guess what? The customer is always right. So you can insist. And so you can, even if you take each symptom that you have, like you may say, and you mentioned it, low energy. So for low energy, what is the ICD-10 code for fatigue? It is actually R53.83. Now, I know that, but you wouldn't know that. But that's something you can go on Google and you can look up your symptoms and you can get your ICD-10 codes and you can bring that into your doctor and say, I want my testosterone levels checked, total and free. And this is the code I want you to use. And this is, so in other words, you may have to do some homework to go into your doctor with, and your doctor may still look you in the eye and say, I can't go there. But you need him to write this because you want your insurance to pay for it. So you have to be a little bit prepared to say, if testosterone is part of my fatigue picture, don't you think I ought to know what it is? So you have to be prepared to advocate for yourself. Okay. Same with your cortisol, same with your thyroid, same with your insulin. Okay. So those four basic hormone groups are not involved in your annual blood work. So you need to know those four blood hormone levels.
All right. Such a great interview with Dr. Victoria J. Mondloch. And you can follow her work. You can get in touch with her by going over to her website, which I'll have linked in the show notes for you, drvictoriamondloch.com. So head over there to connect with her and follow her work, as well as get some support if what she talked about today resonated with you. If you enjoyed it, you are in for a treat, because my conversation with Dr. Mondloch has another part that we're going to release in the near future, where we get into some more specifics about women's health. So we're going to dive into that together. She's also going to talk about her books. Lots of cool stuff coming up in that future interview. So watch for part 2 of my interview with Dr. Victoria Mondloch. But what I want to leave you with is the biggest theme from that conversation. My biggest takeaway, I hope it was your biggest takeaway as well, is the need for us to be our own advocates in the healthcare system. Wouldn't you agree that was the overarching thing that Dr. Mondloch had to communicate to us? And you're probably listening to this podcast because you are already that type of person. And I'll give you a big high five for that. I'm going to celebrate you for being somebody who doesn't just show up and have someone else tell them what's wrong and then just take the pills. You're someone who is interested in improving. You're someone who is interested in doing the things on a regular basis to change your lifestyle so that you can be the healthiest version of yourself possible. And as a result, you probably are someone who already is a very good advocate of yourself. But I think it's important for us to remember, when we're in those scenarios, there are definitely times when we need to seek out medical care and medical attention. We need it. I believe it's an important part of life to have experts help us. And by no means do I want to berate the healthcare system, but to just understand it better. And that's why Dr. Victoria Mondloch came on the show, so that we can understand it better from the other side. What is it really like? What are the things that I can do to kind of grease the wheels, so to speak, so that I can end up with the outcome that is going to be really beneficial for all of us? Because I believe that the doctors that are there, they're there to take care of us. They're there to do the best things for us to the best of their knowledge and to the best of their ability. But there are certain things that we absolutely need to do for ourselves. Wouldn't you agree? So we don't just show up and leave it all up to them. And at the same time, we don't just try to take it all on ourselves and not get healthcare when we need it. So, but we need some knowledge to understand how to navigate that system. And so I'm so grateful that Dr. Mondloch was here with us to help us understand that a little bit and to help us benefit from her 35 years of experience and the changes that she told us about that she went through in the healthcare industry. So important to remember, we are in charge of our own health care. We need to be our own advocates and work well with those that we are allowing to support us, the doctors and others that we go to as their customers, and realizing that in many cases they're employees of bigger systems. And as a result, they have access to a lot of things, but they also have some limitations as a result of that. So we have to know that. We have to understand a little bit about that. We have to be good at asking questions. We have to be good listeners. So again, let's continue to do that. The next time that you're in front of someone with a white coat, just be a good communicator. Be a good advocate for yourself to make sure that you get what you need. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for listening, supporting this show, and keeping it in the top 10% of all podcasts. It's something that is very dear to my heart that we've made it to that point. I thank you so much for sharing this show, for rating and reviewing it in your podcast player, and for tuning in next time when you join me again here on the Begin Within Health Show. Until then, keep taking good care of yourself.